Je vois juste l'image de départ. Dreaming the life, let's get some work prints going while we talk about common sense or lack thereof. English 3D printing, mental health.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. I kind of noticed that my microphone was not on, so I just popped it back on. Apologies about that. But yeah. Last Friday, what we did was work on this crown here from the Loki variant Sylvie. And we can see that, like I was saying when my mic was muted, that there's a few defects. One of the big defects that we can see, if I put it on my pad here, we can see that one of the sides is nice and straight and the other side has a nice curve to it. So if I put it on my head, it kind of does work. I don't know why my intro is going again, but I'll turn it off. There you go. So if I put this on my head, kind of works. But I'm not proud of the details that are there. Like, we could fix that. More adjustments are needed, but for a printer that's been fully reassembled and reconfigured and all that, I'd say it's not too bad for a first start. What we do need to really fix is the fact that one of the line is cut straight. And that happened about, I'd say, 2 centimeters from the right side of the printer. So now that means that I need to move the print area 2 centimeters to the right. Hey Chimo, how's it going? I'm doing great, buddy. How have you been, by the way? I've been doing a lot of this stuff, and I was hoping to see you on. How you been? Bloody terrible. Well, that's not good to hear. Hopefully you get better. If you don't need to talk about what's going on with you here if you don't feel like it, but let me get back to you if you're not comfortable. Like, I'm still curious. The wife got posted away from the kids and oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Well, hopefully you'll join us in some of these conversations that I want to have on this channel, because a lot of the things that I want to talk about are about mental health and stuff like that. How to stay strong when situations like that happen. Now, you remember me from basic training. I was away from my wife and kid for a while, and then I got posted to Gagetown and stayed away from them for another year or so. So maybe I may have tips or tricks to carry on, or maybe I'm not the guy for you, but, you know, having you here to talk is a great thing. Like, I always enjoy talking with people, and I don't connect enough. And that's one of the reasons why I made this channel here, so I could connect with more people. Hopefully, you'll be here and talk. Funny enough, the wife just voted over to social worker. VOT'd, not voted. Really? She's a social worker now. Well, that's good for her. It's a trade that we need more people in. Anything that's with mental health, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and all that. We do need more of these people. I know that I went through mental health issues, and I'm still going through them. It's not something you just get away from like that, right? And my psychologist did not handle the situation the way I wanted it, for sure, because I thought I was going to get a lot better just by talking with somebody, which did help, but not the way I needed. So I would like to talk to somebody else, and in the meantime that I don't have a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, or social worker even, I'm doing these streams to talk to people in general to see if there are some things that people do in their daily lives that, you know, helps them, that maybe I could apply to mine. And if that's not the case, that, you know, somebody tries to give me something and I've tried it, doesn't work, I'm still communicating with people, and that wording that somebody might use may be heard or seen by somebody else. And that's the whole purpose of this channel. Yeah, we're 3D printing stuff, or we're attempting, because we just rebuilt this whole printer. So that's the fun part. But as you know, 3D printers are, once you press print, you gotta wait for a while. So why not talk in the meantime, right? You try to do things that makes you laugh and smile. Perfect. This, yeah, I want to make this place serious, but not serious in the sense of it has to be dark and gloomy, but serious in the sense that, we can hold deep and powerful conversations without being sad about it. Right? We can still enjoy time together. We can still laugh and things like that while talking about good subjects that are important that we discuss with people around the world. And one of the first things that I said is nothing is off limits on this channel, except if it's harassing somebody. Saying a point of view that somebody disagrees with is not harassment, though. So we may talk about subjects that are harder, and that's where I'm going to tell people, you don't need to stay if you're not comfortable, but people hearing both sides of a coin will help understand and diffuse a lot of situations, I find. So hopefully you're comfortable here with us while we do certain things. And like my title of the page says today we're doing a very, very simple print. It's just one of these here that I'll show you. It's just one of these plaques here where a buddy of mine contacted me to print and make these and print them out so that he can pop these on some rods that he has and put some of the figurines and stuff like that to display them. So I already printed 2 more. And we can see her decent quality. The bottom are not good enough for my taste, but I am using just some painter's tape. So of course the bottoms won't be as good. The printer that I'm using is an old ANET A8 that's been fully rebuilt, except for the frame itself, but I've solidified the frame. So I'll try to show you here real quick. If I turn to the right camera would help a lot better. So the camera's old. The camera in there, I did not place the best camera. But as you can see, it's an old ANET A8 frame. The heated bed is a brand new heated bed that's I'm not sure what company made it. I could go look on Amazon and post that up. Don't look at the mess of wires. I'm not done with the whole wiring. I want to get the printer working. But this is a MKS S-Gen L V1 board that I fully reprogrammed, assembled, and everything. I got some all sorts of equipment, so some MOSFETs, which is this thing here, and then I got these, which are to help me with the motors. So that was to calibrate the motors so that the stepper motors are quieter and they run smoother. And then I have a RepRap full graphics smart controller for the controller. The wiring looks terrible. Yes, I get it. I need to get the printer working again so I can print some everything to make it look better. Hopefully that makes sense. If I use a glass bed, not right now. Right now the printer's not calibrated enough that I'm pretty sure I would destroy the glass just by the printer falling down and crushing the glass. But I do have a lot of glass that I can use, cut up to the right size and put on the bed, that I'm willing to sacrifice if it breaks or anything. But I don't have that much money to keep buying glass plates after glass plates after glass plates, right? So right now this is me testing the printer that I fully recalibrated and all that. Have you ever installed the Marlin software yourself? I know you do some 3D printing, or you used to. I'm not sure anymore if you still have yours, but have you ever done some recalibration through Marlin? Trying to open up the program here if you've never seen it. I'm using glass beds. For adhesion, I use hairspray. Oh yeah, gotta love the hairspray. That's what my main way. You haven't updated the firmware. So that's the big thing, where I rebuilt the whole printer, like you saw that mess of wires and all that, and then I went in VS Code and fully reconfigured everything in there. So you look at the code on the right side there, all this code, I went through all of it line by line to make it work. without really knowing what I was doing. Of course, I was using some of the knowledge base that I could find on any platform possible, but I went through it on my own a few times to try and understand it more and more, and I know that I can make it work because I have the proof right there behind me. So I gave him a bunch of frames with glasses just for that. Yeah, so my wife did bring back a bunch of picture frames, which are not tempered glass. But that's the thing, I don't need tempered glass. It's glass that I'm willing to sacrifice because we didn't have to pay for it. When you get something free, recycle as much as you can. If you don't need to spend money, why spend it? It's not about pinching every penny, but when somebody can, why not, right? Does that make any sense to you? Hopefully it does. Before I keep talking there, I'll just start off the print of those little plaques or stands for those miniatures, and then we'll keep talking if you give me a second here. Platform print. Okay, so on Friday, first time we started it, we had some adhesion problems. So I tried to replace all of the leveling and all that of the printer. So I went through every bolt and everything that I could that may have made the printer move a little bit. I readjusted the alignment of both the Z axis, so that way they're exactly at the same height using one of these. All right, so this caliper here, very precise. Hopefully you have one of those. Anybody that owns a 3D printer should own one of these at least. They're not that expensive. I got mine for like $20 at Canadian Tire. Very, very worth it. So right now the printer is heating up. And one thing that I keep forgetting on this printer is that, not on this printer, on just this particular print, is that it was made to be printed using PLA, so the temperatures are wrong. I just need to adjust them every time I print this particular model. So now that that's done, let's see. Can't forget our handy hairspray. While the bed heats up, I prefer doing it that way. For some reason, it gets stickier. A very near caliper. Is that what I said? By the way, I make see, that's what I mean. I make mistakes in talking. I do it in both French and English, so don't judge me too harshly, but I can't talk most days. And that's a me thing. I just need to get better at talking. So hopefully making these videos and getting this brand new mic will help me try to talk better. Or say words better. I don't know how to say stuff like that. I'm not stupid or anything. I'm just too many languages in my head, and with the ADHD that I have, concentrating on one language at a time is not something easy for me. Okay, on words. Vernier. Oh! Yeah, making a wordplay when I read something does not work, as you just noticed. So, if you look at the corner camera at the bottom right there, you can see it printed. It's starting to print, and right now we have good adhesion. Buddy, you're beautiful at talking in both languages. Stop beating yourself up so much. Well, thanks, man. I'm not beating myself up, okay? I try to make fun and make light of the situation. One thing that I've always prided myself on is that if somebody's not happy with the way I talk, because I speak both languages, well, too bad. I speak 2 languages and I'm bilingual. I am fully capable of speaking in 2 languages. I have no shame in that. Yeah, I make some mistakes, and sometimes my words don't sound right. And I might read a word exactly as I would in French, or sometimes as exactly as I would in English, and some people might make fun of me, but at the end of the day, I'm the one speaking both languages. The other people making fun of me usually don't. So, that's something that I've learned. But, yeah, so now we have this print started, and, I didn't want to talk today about common sense, right? How many times have you been frustrated and told yourself, like, why are people so stupid, right? Isn't it obvious that this is the thing that they should have done, or, like, common sense is lost these days? I'm fairly certain that there's a lot of you that have thought like that in your life? Not exactly sure how many, but I'm seeing you speak both languages at once. That's a talent, my friend. Oui, je peux changer de langage just like that. I can do what I want, but sometimes my words will get mixed up. But yeah, common sense, right? Is that a thing that you seem to perceive that's lacking around you? I know it is for me. I can talk to people sometimes and just go like, how the hell does that person think that is the right thing to do? Just as an example, sometimes at work, you think about something that, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing... Thanks, honey. Living with me is a lack of common sense, apparently. Fair enough. I'll just let that one slide. It's okay. I know I'm crazy. But, I know that at work sometimes I hear things or we have to do things that don't make any sense to me. Like, let's say, for example, if I use the basic knowledge of most people don't like getting up early in the morning to go for a run or something like that. Some people love it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's wrong. But a lot of people, if they have a choice between 5 in the morning or 8 in the morning, will choose 8. In my opinion, why don't we do it at 8 o'clock when we have the opportunity to do so? Not saying that we should always do it at 8. Sometimes 5 in the morning is what we have available. So, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But in that sense of the word where, to me, it's not common sense, that it's not using common sense to let's do it super early just because we can. That's the old mentality of maybe like I get up at 4 in the morning, so everybody's up at 4. Well, now let's apply the common sense to that. What does common sense stand for? Right? Does anybody have an idea for that? Because I don't have a clue how to describe it properly. I tried looking it up, and nobody has a clear definition. Yeah, the Webster's Dictionary has one, but it's basically the common way of thinking in the area you are. But the area you are does not mean like the piece of land around you. So not the city or things like that. Your surroundings, meaning the people around you, your hobbies, all that makes you you is what your common sense will be related to. So I decided to do some research about that over the weekend because, I have a channel talking about stuff. Common sense is a superpower these days. Exactly what I think a lot of times. But during my research that I've done there, I came across this way of thinking that was different, that explained a little bit why we perceive common sense to be a superpower these days. And I'm not saying that maybe this is the perfect explanation for everything why we perceive that a lot of people are missing some common sense. But what I did come up with, I did not come up with that at all. I found that on the internet. I can even link the website if you want to, but I'm reading it with you guys. Right? So they came up with these 6 points that made me realize a bit more that maybe common sense is not as common as we think because of how we surround ourselves. So first point they say is that we can't excel in all types of intelligence. Well, that's true. I'm a very try to do everything type of person. Like, I want to be the jack of all trades. I love doing all sorts of things, but I don't have specific things that I'm better at. So I'm very well-rounded to talk to a lot of people and apply common sense in a different way than somebody else that's more focused in one way of thinking. Right, so you think about the school for life type of people, which my brother is one of them. If he could, he'd stay in school. Maybe his mind has changed on that, but I do remember him saying that school was nice for him. It was simple. You just got to sit, take notes, learn, talk. Well, actually, that sounds like a great thing. But about one thing at a time or one type of idea at a time. Because I know there's multiple types of classes and all that. But that's one way of thinking. While me, on the other hand, I was the type that, I like talking with people. I like action. I gotta do something. I do have ADHD, so I gotta move around. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Oh, look, I got a crown. I'm putting it on my head. Now I got a lighter. Right? That's the type of person that I am. I go crazy for the small things, but all at once. So now I'm talking to my brother about going to school, and I'm like, your view of school seems amazing. But to me, sitting in the classroom, concentrating on something that's not necessarily extremely fun to listen to, how can you apply that to your common sense? Like, how can you sit down and do nothing for a day? A full day. There's no sense in that at all. So to me, there's no common sense. It was a nightmare for me as a trans person. Possibly, I love to hear your examples on stuff like that. If you're comfortable sharing those points of view, I can't say that it was hard for me for the same reasons as you. School for me were difficult for a lot of different reasons. One of them was ADHD, hard to concentrate, had to fidget all the time. It was a very strict school for stuff like that. The subjects were not for me. You as a trans person, I'm guessing, were a lot different than what I went through. And that's understandable, right? So noticing that people have a different way of thinking than you completely is extremely hard. And that's why talking about common sense, well, you have ADHD as well. Well, I know the feeling for that one, though. We could talk about ADHD for hours, that's for sure. And that's probably a subject we'll talk about at a later date, because if I start mixing subjects like that, wow, we're going to stay here for hours, which wouldn't be bad either. I don't mind spending time with you guys at all. But I just want to get back to the school analogy here, where my view and my brother's view were completely different. So common sense is not equal for us. For him, going to school and learning and sitting down and taking notes was easy. For me, working with my hands on cars, in the woods or whatever, was easy. So our view of easy was completely different. Does that make sense to you guys? Hopefully it does, because to me that just clicked like that, where just the way we think, our intelligence are different. Not necessarily better or worse, just different. So that does not excuse people from being mean because they lack common sense of just being polite. It's not because somebody was raised differently that they have the right to do that. But you got to understand as well, somebody that was raised completely different than you might not perceive that the same way that you do. Right? So that moves us to the second point of why common sense seems to be lacking. Right? We don't consider all the possibility of the consequences of our actions. Right? So some people are very, very focused on that. Chimo there says, I was diagnosed with ADD as a child 30 years ago, but nowadays I feel like I can choose to concentrate on something, whereas a child I had a hard time concentrating. Oh, that's good for you that you're able to do that. I know I can't. Like I said, ADD and ADHD. By the way, ADD is a portion of ADHD and not the other way around. If you didn't know that, I just learned that a few days ago. ADD is ADHD. It's just that you have less of the hyperactive portion of it. But like I said, I do want to talk about this. You guys seem very interesting about ADHD, so maybe that's going to be our next subject. But that was a big, big thing, right? Going to school with these types of things, different types of intelligence. ADHD are not people that are stupid or anything like that. Far from it. But that's just a different type of learning, of different type of intelligence, different type of brain. Right? All those chemicals in there, the juices that go around, and with that little electric signal goes crazy for people with ADHD. So our brains just work differently. So we can't excel in all types of intelligence. But if we move on to point 2, like I said there, we don't consider all the possible consequences of our actions. And that's something I have a lot of difficulties with sometimes, where I'm very impulsive. Something happens and I have to react right away. When I'm further away from a situation, it's easy for me to have the time to think about my reaction. I'm not saying it takes hours, but let's say Good example, I don't like being tickled, right? Somebody, those pokes on the sides there, I really don't like these. Not at all. And a lot of people like doing them to me because I don't like them. And my first reaction is, right, I get this spasm of what the hell? Turn, and while I'm turning, that's where I go, why am I doing this? Nobody cares. Right? You're not hurt. Nothing's going on. But to me, it just feels like the worst. And in that moment, I don't think of the consequences of the actions that I may take. So somebody would do it right in front of me by just complete surprise. I don't even know how I'd react. I try to control myself as much as I can, but it's impulsive. I don't control my movements. They just happen. Which sounds weird. Sounds like I'm completely irresponsible with my own body of moving around. But that's not what it is. It's just that my brain reacts in a way where action needs to happen. Do it. So, without even thinking, it's just purely reactionary from me. I turn, start to do the action, then my brain goes, whoa, what's going on there, buds? Calm down. Right? So, by doing that, now common sense does not take any place at all. Right? I have zero common sense, or perceive zero common sense when my body just reacts to something. And sometimes I can do something, and everybody else, I'm pretty sure they're the same way. You might do an action and just not think about anything. You're like, this is normal. Well, to another person, that might seem different. Right? So, considering all the possible consequences is not a human trait that we have. It's something that we have to concentrate on and practice. Because, well, goes back to point one. We can't excel in all types of intelligence. So our way of thinking, that means our way of reacting to things is going to be different. And the way we were brought up is going to change that. Like when a person jumps out at me with a rubber mask, sorry about your broken nose. Exactly. That's exactly what my type of reactions to things. So I don't think about the possible consequences at the time. You jump scare me in any way, shape, or form, whack! Done. Whoops. My bad. Then I have to apologize and I have to feel bad and all that, which, I just reacted. It wasn't that I didn't want a thing, because no, I wasn't thinking. I'm sure a lot of people has been put in situations like that, where you catch yourself at the right time to go like, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Give me a second here. Just your brain just had a little brain fart there and just decided that, this isn't working, the body's flailing around doing something. Right? So, moving on to the third point that I read, was we're better at giving advice than following it. This coming from the guy that is actually trying to give advice to people, but at the same time, I'm trying to listen to it. But the point is, we're better at giving advice than receiving it. So I'm going to read a lot about everything to try and hold conversations with people. But then, I'm terrible at listening to advice. And you can ask my wife about that sort of thing. She will give me advice about everything, and apparently I never listen to her. I'm not sure if that's real or not, but I'm going to trust her on it, that I'm terrible at listening to advice. I've made mistakes that she's told me not to do something, and then I do it, get hurt, or something like that, and she goes, told you. Yeah, she was right. I'm terrible at listening to advice. So now that means that my common sense to her is like, is he fucking stupid or something? He never listens, though thought it was a man thing. Apparently, it's one of the common sense things why we think differently. People are just terrible at listening to advice. Some people have learned to manage it a lot better. Some people listen to the advice for certain things and not for others. But I know that I'm going to research a subject a lot and think, well, I know everything about it. And that's why this channel is extremely important to me, because I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take all the advice, the little drips of things that people have learned over the years themselves. So whether it's a person that's 5 years old or for somebody that's 105 years old, everybody has life advice that you can take from them. Now, I'm not saying a 5-year-old should teach me how to do my taxes, but a 5-year-old sees the world with very rose-tinted glasses. Everything is pretty and stuff like that, of course, depending on how they were brought up and things like that. But on average, a child sees the world as a beautiful place, a friendly place, and things like that. They don't have all the fears yet and things like that. So taking the way that a child sees the world can be a good thing. A teenager going through the changes that the world is going through right now, during those high-pressured years, some of the things that they come out of, we can still apply that to our lives. So that's why it's important that we hold these discussions and not close off any subject or limiting the amount of subjects to more than what we were used to or what we were taught to talk about. So I do remember that, the advice that I was given before was don't talk about politics, don't talk about money, and don't talk about religion. Well, I don't believe in that. Not at all. I believe that we should talk about all these things, especially in the world we live in today where everything is just a pure separation of everything. The left, the right. Oh, you believe in this? You're on the left, you're a terrorist or whatever. And you're on the right because of that, you're just a socialist. Nobody wants to talk to you. I'm not even sure which side is which. That's how confused my brain is about all this politics stuff. I do understand that there's political parties and they make promises, and like all political parties, they do what they do, right? Sex was a taboo for a long time too. Yes, and I agree that sex should be something that is discussed, not necessarily porn, but sexuality in general is something that should be discussed. It's a natural thing and needs to be understood by everybody. And talking about sexuality does include consent and things like that. But if somebody disagrees about talking about sex, I'd like to know your opinion on that for sure. Right is no change, hate, left is acceptable, and socialism. Alright. Well, that explains the right and left. I'll be honest with you, I'll probably forget about that tomorrow. Left and right don't make any sense to me. Why don't we just use conservative, liberal, whatever? Whatever terms that our country use for the political parties, we should just use that. Left and right don't make any sense. We're separating the whole spectrum of politics, of issues, and things like that, and that's my way of thinking. Where there are some points that these guys might say that make sense, and this other side might say things that might make sense, but they all say stuff that don't make any sense. That's my opinion anyways. Side note, you play with resin printers yet? Not yet. I'm not rich enough to buy one of those. But one day I will. Right now I only have access to this printer, so I'm trying to make the best of it, and I'm doing a decently good job with it, I think. For somebody that's rebuilt it and all that, it's not doing that bad of a job, just to show you here. I'm on a military wage, yes. Chimo is as well, I think. I don't know if he's out yet. It's printing. But yeah, no, I'm not making a huge ton of money. And I do what I can. I don't do stuff based on how much money I do. I do stuff based off on where my mind takes me. So I got up a morning a few years ago actually saying that I'd like to stream something but didn't know what to do. And a few months ago, well, a few years ago now actually, went through mental health. Yo, how's it going, buddy? Live Report TV. I don't know who you are, but I'm glad you're here to talk with us. I'll just continue my story. Apologies about that. The ADHD kicks in when I see new stuff on the chat. Please keep talking, though. That does not mean that you should stop talking. But where I was with my story is that a few years ago, I went through mental health issues, and I'm still going through them today. And one thing that I realized that a thing that helps me a lot is talking with people about many different things that I struggle with. So today we're talking about how much common sense doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. So let's talk about it, type of deal, right? So my brain works in a lot of directions at the same time. So we were at the point where we're better at giving advice than following it. I'm in 100% agreement with that. Everybody that I give advice to tend to do the same thing that I do. Not everybody. Some people do listen to it and things like that. But everybody has this thing where, we get advice and we're not sure on what to do with that advice, so we're just gonna do what we were gonna do instead. I decided that I want to change that by talking with people. Now I have somebody here that, good night or good afternoon, I don't know. I'm from Portugal. I'm president of two movements, so a friend hugged me. Our mental health is not good anymore. I'm sorry to hear that. Please stay with us, for sure. I'll give you a hug with what I can. That's all I can do for now. I apologize for that, but that's the best I can do. My camera's too far away for me to use my arms, so I'm going to at least give them with my hands. Please stay with us. We have a lot of things that we want to talk about relating to mental health. And yes, right now we're talking about common sense, how, if you're part of these movements, you might perceive that a lot, where a lot of people seem to not have any common sense in what they do from your perspective. And I'm not saying that the other part is right or wrong, or you're right and wrong. I don't know the whole story, and if it's a movement that you believe in, that's good for you, right? I'm here to try and understand both sides, to come to a conclusion in the middle that, how can we go with understanding everybody else? And that's a big thing that's important to me. Not agreeing with everybody else, understanding everybody. Because from an understanding, that's where we get respect for one another. And I want to get the advice from everybody I talk to, whether it's here in chat, in real life, wherever. I want to get these pieces of life that everybody has, where we talk to each other and we talk about things that we go through and become better. I'm not saying you're bad or anything. I'm just saying that everybody can improve at all times. And I want to be that guy that goes through that. I want to be better. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better person in general. So I want to have these discussions with as many people as I can get, so that I can improve who I am. And why not do that with 3D printing at the same time? Because we have a lot of time to spare when we're printing stuff. Don't worry, man. I still like you. Well, thank you very much. Love you too, brother. So moving on. I don't want to cut the conversation or anything. If you have more to say, don't be afraid to talk between each other as well. I'm president of a school movement and a Portuguese conservative movement, Rethinking Life. Well, that's what I'm going through right now. I'm rethinking life myself, not just in maybe I've made bad choices. No, in the sense that I closed myself off for a lot of things, and I'm trying to open myself back up to the world. I found that, I was staying inside, not talking to anybody, just being depressed. I was diagnosed with severe depression, and that closed my mind off. And I know that I went through it before, where I lost a portion of my memories, because depression is actually a mind-altering thing, where your mind starts forgetting things, because those are just useless information for your brain to try to heal. I'm not sure the whole mechanism behind it. We should probably explore that at one point. And having these discussions actually helped me. Not only do I talk with people, but now I have this chat log that I can read through and take notes from it after it. Or I can take notes here. Like I said in one of my first streams, I always have stuff to write with close to me so that I can take these notes and try to remember things. It's not about just knowing everything. It's about trying to retain information that I feel could help me, and so I can push that information to other people. And yes, Liberport TV, yes, good luck with your movement, as Skyra says. Hope things will change for the better. I'm not sure what's going on and things like that, but a movement usually is meant to help people, right? There's been a lot of movements that I've read about, that I've seen, and things like that, and the whole point of these movements are to help people. And common sense is a big thing that I think applies to a lot of these movements, where people don't have the same common sense as one another. So if we recap those points real quick, just to catch up a few people that joined us. So we can't, number one was we can't excel in all types of intelligence. So everybody thinks differently, went to different schools and all that. You're good at this thing, somebody else is good at something else. So our ways of thinking are completely different. So our common sense will be different. The second point was we don't consider all the possible consequences of our actions. Sometimes we do certain things. Like I said, if I get poked by surprise, my first reaction is usually to fight, right? Fist her up. But my brain, after a second, kicks in and goes like, whoa! Think about the consequences. But in that exact moment, that's not what I think. And that's me. Other people can be poked and nothing happens, but something else happens and they'll have a similar reaction. So we don't always think about the consequences. And sometimes you have all the time in the world and you just do this action without even think about it. You don't think about sometimes you don't think about those consequences. And I'm not saying you in particular, I'm just saying you as a person in general will do an action that they don't even realize the consequences. Third point was we're better at giving advice than following it. And like I've said, and I was talking about, that's exactly why I'm doing one of these channels. So if we move to point 4, we're stubborn in the face of a new or contradictory information. So that's a big thing that I've seen in the world right now with, like I was saying, the whole divide of the people that's happening in the world. These people see this, believe this, have learned this, and that's all they want. And then this other group, same thing, but different sides. It's the same coin at the end of the day. There's 2 points of view. Both might be valid to a certain extent. Maybe one of them is better than the other, but not everybody was raised the same way or has seen the same things. So, one of the things that I can use as an example is violence sometimes is the only way to move forward. Some people will say, well, no. By saying that, I'm not saying I want to fight everything. Contrary to that, completely, if I don't have to fight, I will not. But sometimes that's the only option that you have. So violence sometimes is the right answer. Right? Does somebody disagree with me on that one? Like, I'd love to see what you have to say about it. Or, you don't need to talk about anything if you're not comfortable. I forgot that part. That's one big thing that I want to do, is not force anybody to say anything if they don't feel like it. So, let's just continue with where I was with that. We're stubborn in the face of new or contradictory information. I would give as an example, someone who's done the same job for 30 years will be less likely to hear someone with less experience the point of view that from that less experienced person. That's a big thing, especially in my world. I'm a military person. Somebody that's been doing the same job for 30 years has a lot of experience, and for sure they don't want to change their way of thinking. And yes, that's a very good example. It doesn't mean because somebody has less experience that they're not as good. They lack the experience, yes. Liberport TV. Well, my projects are going well for now, and as it's a small movement, it doesn't have much to worry about. But I had to see that the conservative Portuguese channel has already been censored. censored a few times. Let's say the media here doesn't like conservative very much. It's been 48 years. I'm sorry to hear about that, and hopefully that I don't know where I'd fall within your views in your country, but hopefully that this channel can actually open up to a lot of people so that they can put their points of view out there. Censorship is not the way to go, in my opinion. So, like I was saying, we're stubborn in the face of new contradictory information. I don't know your country that well. I know where it is, but I don't know anything about your political systems and things like that. And it seems that the way you're describing it right now, exactly point 4 that we're going through. People are stubborn. Some people, not all of them. Or they don't like hearing the other side of the view. Vigilance is how they want to enforce their view. Yeah, some people believe that, if you force somebody into your view, they'll just adopt it and they'll carry on like that. I don't think that's the way to go. I think understanding every point of view and then making up your own mind is how you can become a better person for yourself, for your family, and for the world in general. So, yes, sometimes I struggle with new information that I get taught something that I've always heard of, like, the other way. Manipulation as well. That's another big thing. Why we may be struggling for when we hear this new information. People that have been manipulated and controlled will be stubborn when new information comes around, especially when it's been from, last time we listened to a party or a group of people that had a different idea. This happened and it was terrible. So I can understand why certain people would have more trouble switching their point of views. But not taking the time to research and talk about these things with the other point of view, nobody's growing, nobody's learning anything. Right? Here in Portugal, it's somewhat strange republic. It's been 48 years since Salazar dictatorship ended, but now we have democratic moralist rainbow dictatorship known as the Pink Socialists. That sounds extremely complicated. I'll have to do some research on that and read more about it and try to understand what's going on. It seems to be a really terrible situation that you're in right now. I don't have the answers for solving this issue. What I can do, though, is talk about these things from all points of view, say my opinions and things like that, and hopefully help you with mental health and how to handle certain situations. Like today, talking about common sense and taking the time to understand the other point of view, not necessarily agreeing with it. And that's not a thing that I want to push, where, you should believe everything everybody says, or if you take the time to understand them, that means you're on their side. No, that's not what it means at all. It means you got to understand every side of the story that's being told to you from the other side. I know I'm saying side a lot, but somebody that was raised to believe a certain thing is how things should always be, will have trouble changing that, because they might have seen something that when you try to change it, pain happens or sadness happens or things like that. So now they've identified the change with something terrible, right? So where is that point in everything that you see on your side? And how can you talk about your side? Not saying we have to do this because this is what's good. No, it's we have to do this so that this good thing may happen. But with this current view, if we keep going this way, this is what we can possibly predict where it's going to go. That's my point of view anyways. I literally haven't armed myself to feel safe enough to leave my home, because how many people want me dead because I'm trans and queer? And that's a terrible thing that somebody has to go through something like that. And when I say we need to listen to the other side, I'm not saying that Somebody that means hate needs to be listened to. Hate is not something that should be listened to the extent of you should die because of this. No, in my opinion, that's completely wrong. But, and now that's a big but, I'm not saying taking a side on your life here at all. Okay, you're a friend of mine, I know you, and I want to keep talking with you for sure. We went through a portion of basic training in the military together, and you're trans and queer and people around you, not me, but you've heard about people not being happy and that the trans and queer community have been under attack. Yes, but why is that a thing? And that's what I mean by understanding the other point of view. Why is it a thing? Why are people so afraid of this change? And I'm sure you've researched it. I'm not going to educate you on the subject that you have a lot more education on than I do. I don't live that life, so I can't pretend to know what's going on in your life. But understanding where the other point of view comes from and trying to play the narrative differently is maybe where the issue is. Changing somebody's mind, though, is a big thing. We just talked about these points there for the past, how long have we been going on here, right? From the start of this conversation, we've had a lot of points where people have a hard time changing their point of view, and you say it's fear because they don't want to educate themselves. A lot of times that's what it is, because one of the points that I did say, right, we're better at giving advice than following it. We're stubborn in the face of new or contradictory information. See, those two big points are what I'm trying myself to get away from, right? I'm tired of that misunderstanding of the world around me. Politics are complicated for no reasons. Everybody hates everybody, and I've actually looked at a graph for politics where 50 years ago, politics were actually close to the center, and the center is the people. So you had the left side, the right side, and not everywhere in the world. I'm talking about Canada here. And as the years went on, the parties just split ways completely. This party has an idea, this one says the complete opposite. But when you think about it, if you kind of modify it a little bit, everybody would be in the center. Does that make sense to everybody, what I just said there? So yeah, that's a big thing where understanding the other side of it is not being in agreement with them, but it's trying to understand their point of view so you can educate them from your point of view. But everybody needs to open up their minds really to receive that information, and that's a hard thing to do when you were raised that this is what it is, and it always has been, always will be. And that's where I struggle with all of that information that I don't have the knowledge about, and then I'm told just follow this, you'll be fine. There's an issue with that. Why do I need to follow that? Well, it's always been like that. Well, that's not a reason. So I want to stop being stubborn in the face of new or contradictory information, right? Another big point that they brought up there on that website that I was talking about, we're selfish. We're very selfish as human beings. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, the most important person in the world to a person is themselves. And if that wasn't a thing, life would be very different. So our first thought is to save ourselves. When you lose that and you just want to help others, your life changes. And that's the point where I want to get, where I want to help others, not just think about myself. It's the selfishness makes it that, your common sense goes out the window when something happens. It's me first. And that's something that's been ingrained in me from the military to try and change that. Right? We're in a combat situation, we're moving along, we get shot at, friend falls down, I gotta keep going, help my buddy as soon as I can. Then all my attention will be on the person that's next to me. But my first initial thought for everything used to be like, oh no, I need to get out of here. But now I can't. I'm forced to go in the direction of danger. But my first thought after that won't be, oh, I need to get out of here as soon as I can. It's going to be, I need to help my friend. Right? But that's muscle memory at this point. I'm not working from just a human being. I've trained my mind and my body to react these ways. Right? Being selfish is not a bad thing, like I was saying, but it's a thing where your perception of common sense will be different from somebody else because you're two different people. And then different personalities. The difference in personalities will be a big thing. Right? If you think about it, I'm a very social person that likes talking to people and things like that. So to me, common sense is we're in a lockdown, we can't talk to people. Well, what can I do? I can do this. Okay, the lockdown's done. I know. I get it. I'm like almost 2 years late. Too bad. I want to talk to more people. But I want to talk to people around the world. How can I do that? Well, my common sense is saying, well, use the internet. Right? Somebody else might just say, well, why don't you just go on Reddit and type something real quick and then your questions are asked? Well, I want to have these conversations. Right? So just to recap all these points there. So, common sense doesn't seem all that relevant in the world today because, one, we can't excel at all types of intelligence. Well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, different intelligence, we think differently. Two, we don't consider all the possible consequences of our actions. Fair enough, I can recognize that in myself. I'm sure others have gone through that, and I've seen some in the chat as well. Three, we're better at giving advice than following it. Oh yeah, I'm guilty of that one. Four, we're stubborn in the face of new or contradictory information. Yes. Five, we're selfish. And six, different personalities. So all these big points are the main reasons why we perceive common sense to not be a thing. But if you think about it, now apply all this to a different area that you're from or a different way of living that you have. So we have experience here from people from different places around the world in the chat that have been talking for a bit. And I'm just trying to pop this chat up here and I can't find it properly. I apologize for that. There you go. I just found it here. So, Libreboy TV here was talking about being in another country and being part of movements and things like that. The political system is just all kinds of whack in his or her area. And, well, people are thinking two complete opposites, and that's a big issue. Now we have Pink Phoenix Girl that says trans and queer community afraid for her life a lot of times when just going outside and things like that because of people that have closed-minded ways of thinking. Well, that's a big issue, and that's something that the world needs to fix. Right? That's my kind of thinking too, but my mental and physical health prevent me from going out, so I like this system. Well, there you go. See, a conversation like that, safer for some people. If this is safer for them, perfect. We can actually have a conversation. And we might not get along on every subject, and that's a good thing. Because if we disagree on something, we can talk through it and explain each other's point of view. There's certain things that shouldn't matter at all. Like, if I say that, we exist, I wish people all would stop trying to stop that. And I agree with you. If I were to say, well, I don't want to be trans, I think that's a valid point. But I'm not saying that trans community should not exist. That's where I can draw the line. people that go out of that line and say, well, I don't want to be, so you shouldn't be. Why not? How is that affecting you? Right? The conversation would be boring if everyone had the same experience and point of view exactly. It would be a terrible way to have this type of stream where everybody just agrees on the same thing. Like, so and I've seen that where people just develop this cult following of, oh, this person does that, so we're all doing it. This is the right way of doing it. And we see it in this one country. I'm not going to say the name of it. But we've seen people from not just one country, many countries have this way of thinking. There's this huge amount of people that follow this one person in this country, in this religion, in this whatever, right? People have this herd mentality. No, I'm not saying people are sheep. I'm just saying that humans are animals. We have this herd mentality of grouping up together. And everybody that thinks the same way or relatively similarly will group up together. And I'm trying to get I'm trying to get away from that. Sorry for that laugh. I was just reading the chat there. But that's the thing. It's that we need to get away from we're our group, we're staying this group. No, we need to make our groups grow and open up. We don't want a full circle. We don't want a full closed circle. What we want is this open circle that can add more to it. So circle grows. That way we grow as human beings. We grow as people. Our minds will develop better. Our bodies will be healthier because our minds learn more things. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy soul. Right? That's the way I am trying to live my life. And I'm not perfect at it. I'm far from it. I make mistakes. And I get angry extremely quickly. And I'm trying to fix that. So we have Chimo 1911 there. So small story. In my younger years, being a giant, when I go to bar, when my girlfriend guys would try to pick a fight with me because I was bigger than them. So we started going to gay bars because the people were nicer. Here's my story from when I was younger. Gay bars, no thanks. Like, no, that's gay. That was my way of thinking. And I'm just saying that now because I realized that that was a stupid way of thinking. What's the difference? A bar is a bar. Well, there's no girls in there. Well, no, that's not true. There are some girls everywhere. Girls are everywhere. Women are part of the world. Men are part of the world. Their sexual attraction means nothing to me. If I'm not attracted to a person, I don't need to be an asshole about it, right? And going to a gay bar, people know immediately know you're straight. Apparently that's a thing. I wouldn't know. But I've been complimented by all types of people, which, you know what? A compliment's a compliment. I'm just gonna be happy about it. I'm married, happily married, but if I go out and somebody gives me a compliment, you know what? I'm taking the compliments. My mind was closed off before, but I took the time to do things like this and discuss with people and open up everything about me so that I can understand the world better. I can understand people better. So how can I keep doing this? By doing what we're doing right now, having these types of discussions here. I wish there were more people that want to join us on these types of streams and discuss these types of things that are going on, so that we can try to understand the sides that we don't understand, why they're against something we believe in, or why they don't see the same things we do. We were talking about this one person from another country, from Portugal there. Sorry about that. I almost choked. Let me have a drink here. There you go. That's better. So we were talking about this person from Portugal that said that, you know, their government is completely out of whack in their point of view. I don't know the whole situation, right? They're using terms that I've never heard before. I've heard conservative, but what does conservative mean to them in their country? Right now, this person is in a movement to try and help the people, from what I understand. So that's good, but I don't have the whole story. I can't make a judgment. I can't pick a side that I'd be on until I hear the full side of it. Both sides of it, really. Right? But same thing applies to everything. If I don't understand both points of views, how can I come to a reasonable conclusion which is in the middle? Because common sense is what is in the middle of everything. So we need to apply common sense in everything we do. We need to develop our common sense ourselves in everything we do. So these 6 points that we've been talking about from the start here, we need to be able to get more out of them, right? It's not an easy thing to do. And I'm developing my own skills myself about everything. It's me working with my own brain to do things that I'm not used to get out of my comfort zone, to talk about things that might make people uncomfortable, including myself. But it's important that we talk about these things, because if we don't, nobody understands anything. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense to everybody, and you'll keep joining me on these conversations. I used to do these every day, but it does take a lot of time and energy to get in on these. And I switched my days to Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, so that way I get a little bit of time to be better prepared for these streams. And I'd like you guys, if you can, to try to bring more people in the chat. Like, I know there's not a whole lot of people here today, and that's fine. Small groups are fine as well. But the more people we have, the more we can spread this awareness of find the center. Balance yourself. If you're balanced in everything, you'll be able to accept a lot more that's going on in your life. It is a focus group for sure. I love focus groups. I love taking these theories and these different ways of thinking, these views of everything, and understanding them in a way that makes sense to me. But I can't do that just by reading a book. If I read a book, and I've done it, I'm going through mental health, I was given this thing, Mind Over Mood, right? I know a lot of people that received this book and said it changed their lives. I got this book and I got mad at it. I got pissed off at the book. How does that make any sense? It's a book. How can I get mad? Well, to me, the book just made fun of me and just insulted me and stuff like that. Oh, Susie was not happy because she was sad. That's how I read it. But yeah, no shit, she was sad. Like, she wasn't happy. That makes sense to me. Well, why was she sad? I don't fucking know. Sorry about the language, but not. It's a mature channel. But yeah, right? If I don't take the time to understand this book then that I didn't like, of course I'm not going to like it if I feel that's how it is. But maybe if I take the time to read it and talk to somebody about it, maybe I develop something else. Or maybe the book is just not for me, which that is what happened. I read through the book, I went through the exercises, talked to somebody about it, hated everything about it. That just wasn't the plan that I needed. Right? And it's a focus group and we still managed to go off the subject for a bit. Yes, but that's how conversations go. Right? A conversation, if it's too linear, people lose focus on it. I tried to wrangle people back into it a little bit, not too much, because as much as this is a focus group, we can talk about a lot of different things. Once my points are done like this, now I said my 6 points from common sense, but if we would have moved further away from that, I just would have stopped talking about it at one point, because maybe that's not the subject that we needed to talk to about today. Somebody might have been going through something that they want to share. I went through a lot of frustrations today that made sense to me to talk about common sense. But it's not just about me. Right? This channel is about everybody. It's about understanding everything. And yes, it's a very, very much a focus group. It's also a way to reconnect with other humans. I know as a father, at first, for the first few years, I tried to keep in contact with friends. But you know what? Families kind of take priority. Then, oh, well, I might be able to free myself and go make some more time with friends. Well, yeah, but now my family's suffering, right? Are these common sense issues involving green privates? No, actually, much higher than that. Those usually happen when I'm running a course, but yes, sometimes it does, right? Right now, it's just we're going through what do we call it? Macro region. And there's a lot of things that don't make any sense to me. But, you know, that's life. Not everything's going to make sense to me at all times. And I just need to take the time to breathe, relax, and understand the whole situation. It's very difficult to keep a social and a family life. Yes, I do agree. So that's why, for me, this is my dedication to, if I take 3 hours a week to just talk to random people and make these connections that I've been lacking in my life. Well, it came after the girl who broke her. Yes, that is true. That's true. Like what my wife just said there. Well, it came after the girl who broke her leg hiking. That's how it came up to common sense. Last Friday, she brought this comment up to me that, you know, maybe you should talk about common sense on your stream. And today, I found that a lot of people were lacking common sense. So over the weekend, yeah, I did do some research. But this thing is, there's this girl that broke her leg in Fundy National Park on a hiking trail that was rated for experienced hikers. She fell down, she broke her leg, then said, well, the trail should have been closed. I looked at pictures of the trail, and yeah, it's an advanced trail that any advanced hiker could go through, and if or when they get to a point where they're too exhausted or anything like that, somebody that had the experience would have went like, okay, not today. I'm just going to turn around or take a break. And that's not what happened. Somebody with not a whole lot of experience went down a trail, broke their leg. Now they want to close the trail so that people don't go in there and nothing happens. Like nothing like that happens again. Well, at the same time, where if we don't use our common sense, things like that will happen. Chimo 1911. Yeah, no, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm sorry you're gonna miss the end there, but before you head out, I want you to take 2 minutes to just look around you, find something you're grateful for. All right, that's something that I say all the time. And join us back on Wednesday. For everybody else that's staying, yeah, sorry I cut off my conversation. I do try to wish good night to people and want them to look at their lives a little bit more. Thank you very much for joining us. And my ADHD does kick in, right? And I do say the word right a lot. I'm a human being. I'm not trying to be a robot here or anything like that. And yeah, common sense is something that I want to understand why people don't seem to have it. And now I gave that information to you guys. I understand a bit more about why common sense is not a thing that I perceive to be present. Will I still be frustrated by some decisions that are made when I think they're lacking common sense? Yeah, this wasn't about fixing my way of thinking. It was taking the first step towards trying to understand something so I can move to a better place of understanding and control my emotions more, so I don't suppress anything, but so I can understand them better and become a better person. So it is now 10:15. I think that I'm gonna shut the stream down for tonight. I'm extremely tired. This was my first day back to work, but it was amazing talking with everybody that came on the stream tonight. I had a great time here. So Wednesday at 2100, that's 9 p.m. I'll be on both Twitch and YouTube. Feel free to join me, comment, just listen, whatever. Bring people, don't bring people, have your dog watch. Right? You do you. But one thing that I do every single time, and I will keep doing throughout, is that I want to take this last few minutes at the end of a stream to relax. Right? So take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and while you're releasing all the negativity from your mouth, just relax your shoulders, drop the tongue from the roof of your mouth, relax your eyebrows, relax your cheeks, let your eyes close if they need to. And like I was telling Chimo, Just think about something for 2 minutes that you're grateful for. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It can be that you are finally able to relax. It can be that, that good stretch that, you just got there, or that last deep breath that just relaxed you. It can be all the way to, you know what? I'm happy I'm still alive today. Yesterday I didn't feel like that. Today I'm happy. Be grateful for those moments. I know I am, and I've struggled with all these sorts of thoughts. I'm grateful that my dog comes in and visits me once in a while. Find those little things in your life that you can be grateful for. Just take that 2 minutes, relax, think about it if you have to. And on that, I'm going to wish you a very good night, and hopefully I'll talk to you again Wednesday. All right, good night, everyone.